Welcome to the Hardcore MBA podcast with your host, Erlend, Bakke. Would you like to have a free copy of the #1 international best-selling book, Never Work Again? All you have to do is rate, review, and subscribe to Hardcore MBA podcast on iTunes and email us a screenshot of your review to erlend@mroutsource.com.
Hello, Erlend Bakke here, coming to you from Hilton, close to Olympia in London. I am at an event called New Business UK, I believe, and it's the 34th year that they've been running it here in London. So a great event, and I'm always learning, trying to figure out new things. Every day I learn something new, and when I implement that into my business, it becomes better. And for every percentage it becomes better, the more money I make, and also it compounds over time. So it means if I'm learning one thing every day and I'm in business for 30 years, that means I'm going to be very, very successful. So today I'm wanting to learn about payroll. I'm wanting to learn about accounting. What kind of practices do you need to have as a business owner to manage your money? Because there's two things in business that are crucial. One is cash flow and the other one is people. And if you don't manage your cash flow, you won't be able to manage your people because they will leave. And to do that, I have invited Tracy Irwin here today. She comes from TI Payroll, an accounting company. Welcome to the call.
Hi. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. So, how did you get started in the business that you're in?
Well, it's quite a story. I'll keep it short. I worked for electrical contractors, and in 2002, over a glass of wine with some friends, I actually got into a conversation where we realised that they were paying cash to their employees because they felt they couldn't afford to go to an accountant to get their payroll done. And in 2002, there was no payroll bureaus. And I kind of said, I could do that because I was an accountant and I was working in industry. And so I said, I kind of accidentally set up my company. And then at the weekend, my sister and I, we designed a leaflet and I put it through all the shop doors in my local town. And within 6 weeks, I had 20 clients, which kind of made me realise that there was a huge gap in the market, that people just were not paying their staff correctly. And so I continued to grow that business whilst I worked for electrical contractors, and then things just grew from there. So I started doing bookkeeping, and in 2007 I went totally self-employed. So it kind of was an accidental business.
So you saw there was a hungry crowd, there's a need, there's a demand, and people are naturally asking you for can you help me with this, can you do this, and then you just you delivered, and then you got a good reputation and you got more business from that?
Yes, it was purely on referrals because, as I say, I had a full-time job at the time as well. So actually my business grew behind. I employed my mum from 2005. So bless her, she worked at my house for me at home whilst I actually went out to work for a couple of years too.
And how many people do you have working for you now?
13.
13
yes.
people.
So the growth of the company has happened since 2010. So from when I actually went self-employed in 2007, for 3 years what I call plodded along. I was a single parent for a long time, and I think I always thought about if I was going to take a risk in the business, it wasn't just my roof I was risking, it was my daughter's roof, and I just never took big risks. And then in 2010, I met two gentlemen, one being my husband now, and he gave me the safety net to be able to take bigger risks. And another gentleman was with Nigel Bottrell, who owns the Entrepreneur Circle, and by joining that, I learned about marketing, and my business has doubled every year since. So.
And in terms of getting clients for your business, is it mostly referrals or?
Yeah, most of it is referrals. We do some social media help with squeeze pages to bring people into our list. We use Infusionsoft CRM that helps to make leads into conversions. In our local area, it's more about branding, but the majority, I'd say probably 80% of our new clients come from referrals.
So when you start a business, should you be getting an accountant from the beginning, or is that something that you sort of grow into? What do you recommend?
I would recommend that at the moment that you start a business, that you have an accountant. Not necessarily to thinking about doing your year-end accounts, but you need to have your finances on a monthly basis. And so many companies just plod along in the first couple of years, and then when it comes to like the 19 months later and they need to get the year-end accounts done, that is, it's so late to actually be able to help people that, you know, when we're looking at doing the year-end accounts, if they've not got things in there that they could have claimed for, you know, asking for something that's 18 months old, 12 months old, they can't find it, all the kind of things that it's more of accountancy is going away from being a traditional put your books in, find out what your tax is, and then, you know, not see you again for a year. Accountancies are growing into being advisory services, and that's the most important bit. So actually for me, getting an accountant on board the first day you actually open your business will help you to grow much quicker than if you wait until you actually need one to do your year-end accounts.
And then the second part of the question becomes, how do you actually choose an accountant? What's important? Because, you know, there's horror stories out there with people that have taken the books and done fraud and
Yes.
All these kind of things. So how do you recommend people actually choose an accountant?
One, I would make sure that they talk to other people who are in business and find out who they use and find out what kind of service they offer. I would look at people's websites. A lot of it has got to do with personality. I am a quite big character, so sometimes I recognise that I might not be the right person for everybody from an accountancy point of view, because I ooze enthusiasm, and you know, it's finding the right person that you could have a relationship with, because for me, a business owner and accountancy relationship is very important, and if you can't have that an easy conversation and enjoy each other's company, then there is just no point. Hello?
And how do you actually teach people accounting? So what happened for me the first year in business was that, first of all, I did the accounting myself, because I was like,
Okay.
I don't have any money,
Yes.
can't afford this, I'm just going to do it myself, I'll figure it out. And then for about 12 months, I was not looking forward to finishing up accounting. I just put everything in a bag, and I was just like, okay, I'll just deal with that after a year. Number one is just get in some money.
Okay.
So that's how I did it. And then for 12 months, I didn't look forward to that day. And I actually spent a week doing it. And I hated every second of it. And It was not necessarily the accounting itself. It was just, I just didn't really know anything about it. And I didn't really have any urge to know it either at the level of detail where, like, where do I put a telephone bill? Is that in that category or this category, you know?
Yeah, and that's the point actually, when that's why we do bookkeeping for clients, because there is so many things that you could put in the wrong place. Is it a cost of sale? Is it an overhead? You know, and reconciling the bank, knowing what you can put into your accounts and what you can't. And when you use a bookkeeper, they will have systems where they can actually give you KPI reports and management reports, so that actually you know in the entirety what your business looks like from one sheet of paper, rather than having to input it all yourself to find out what that is, which would be much nicer to a business owner to have just a report that when it's all done and dusted, and to be able to read that report rather than have to input it all in the time that they don't want to do it.
So how do you explain to people how to do it? What's your system of delivering? So if we were working together, would I send it in every day, every month, every year, every 6 months? How does that work, and what do you recommend?
The majority of people we work on a monthly basis with. Some we do weekly, and we use cloud-based systems. So I have clients all over the country, and we use a accounting system called Xero, which fits in with another software called Receipt Bank. So for instance, whilst you're out and you're at the Hilton today and you've got your coffee and you get your receipt, all you need to do is pick up your phone, take a photocopy of it, it uploads to the internet. My staff here, they do some coding on Receipt Bank, and then it pushes its way through to Xero into the correct place in your accounts automatically. So, and that's from you sat in London to happens to be in that, happens in the accounts. The Xero system, you get a login and we get a login, so that you can look at your accounts whenever you want to, 24/7. And what we do behind that is we reconcile the bank as well. So once we reconcile the bank, that's when we send out the monthly management reports, which are much more important for me as an accountant than the year-end accounts, because the management accounts are for the business owner, the year-end accounts are for HMRC.
When it comes to Xero and Receipt Bank and all these things, are you worried that they're eventually going to replace accounting, bookkeeping, payroll as an industry?
No, purely because of the comment that you said before. You said it took you a week to do the accounts and that you hated every minute of it. We get people, my staff love numbers and they love bookkeeping. So actually, as a business owner, what people need to understand is their time is better spent doing something else than doing their accounts, which is something that they don't enjoy. So one, it takes them longer because they're not used to it. Two, they don't enjoy it, whereas our staff do. And three, the ROI on their time as a business owner, if they were doing marketing or quotes and things like that, actually they will be getting more money per the hour than what it costs them for us to do the bookkeeping.
Right.
So no, I don't think it will. As I said before, I do agree. I do to some point. Accountancy is definitely changing, and I think that inland revenue are becoming more and more a way of self-employed people doing tax returns, but it's more about an advisory service. I help businesses grow. I don't just do their tax, and that's where accountancy is moving into.
And when it comes to this advisory service, what is it that you actually teach them?
So we look at their business from a numbers perspective. So we make sure that their gross profit margins are, we have dashboards and things that help them determine from their sector whether they are high or low. I mean, there's some things I don't like to say be the norm, because I think the more unnorm you can be in your sector, the more you would stand out. But when it's like industry norms, looking at the gross profit margins, their expenditure, making sure they're not overspending, which is obviously where Profit First comes in, which is how I met you, and also making sure that they're not growing broke, because so many business owners, they start to be successful, and as their income increases, so does their expenditure. They overstaff themselves, they feel like they can spend money on quite a lot of stuff that is not necessary. And then what they find is where they were just working just them and say 2 other people, and they were earning lots of money, suddenly they have lots of staff, they're paying the staff, and they're not able to take any money out of the business for themselves. So we teach them not to do that.
Right. So tell us a little bit more about Profit First. How does that work? Before you answer that, actually, so I've been in business for 8 years.
Yeah.
Not once has my accountant called me up and said, "Hey, listen to this. You should focus more on this product and that product. Why are you spending this money?" Typically, it's like, "Oh, I can't find the receipt," or here's your VAT payment, whatever. It's never really a strategic call based on numbers. It's always just a give me some information kind of call. So do you guys actually actively follow up when you see their numbers? Is that part of your...
Yes, so we have different packages which include different levels of service. So if you can imagine, I'm going to upset a lot of accountants here, I think, but if you can imagine accountancy who just charge £400 to do some year-end accounts all the time and do lots of those, they don't have the time to spend time on each client to see whether their business is growing in the right direction or not. when you spend more money with your accountant, and actually that's what I would advise every actual business to do, the more money you can spend with them, the more time they can spend on your business to actually help you grow. So it's not about trying to find the cheapest accountant at all. It's about trying to find the one that wants to help you to grow your business.
Because I guess a lot of people look at accounting as a cost, but it could be an investment, right? If you get some advice that saves you £20,000 a year or £10,000 a year, then that advice pays for itself. So if you spend, let's say you did spend $500 or pounds or whatever on some advice, but that saves you 20,000, then ultimately that's a really good investment, right?
Of course, that's why it's about relationships, and that's what I said before about finding an accountant you can actually work with. So
how do you actually? Is that something that you constantly talk to clients about? Do you have like workshops where you bring people in and you talk about, business strategy and stuff? Do you do webinars?
I would like to do webinars because my problem is with my clients being all over the country, I can't just bring them in. I do have a full finance director package where I go out quarterly to clients to help them and interfere in their business, as some of them call it, so that we can actually say, like, look, what's happening and things. That is part of our packages. But to get them all together and to bring people in, that's very difficult because of where I am in the country. Because I'm in the Lake District, so I'm in the biggest cul-de-sac. It's a 35-mile cul-de-sac that we're in, so it's quite difficult.
What is a cul-de-sac for our international listeners?
A cul-de-sac is like a road that has a dead end at the end of it.
Right, okay.
So I live in a peninsula. Is that a better way to explain it?
And the Lake District's very, very nice. It's very beautiful.
It's a beautiful place. I wouldn't live anywhere else. But geography-wise, it can be a little bit difficult to get people to come to me.
So online for you is very, very important.
It is, yes, very.
So what are some of the common mistakes made by business owners, by businesses in general, when it comes to their money? You mentioned a few overspending, but some other.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that is the most common one, is the overspending. Overstaffing as well. I think when they get busy, rather than looking at productivity and trying to see the best way to be productive with the staff that they have, they think the answer is to just get another member of staff, especially ones that sell time for money, which is weird because that's what we do effectively, sell time for money with bookkeeping services. So it's trying to teach businesses to be cleverer with their time and their money rather than just thinking they can spend all the time, because it's kind of once that starts to happen and the employer gets into a routine of not paying themselves, it's really hard for them to get back out of that. So.
Right, yeah, because once you have a habit, that's what you do. That's automated, and part of the profit first system is, of course, pay yourself first. So whatever. If you decide your profit in your business is 5-10%, then it is 5-10% because that's the money you just transfer every month into a separate account, right?
Yes, it is.
And guys listening, I just if you're listening to this episode, then transferring money every single month into a separate account and just calling it your profit first account, and then paying that out to yourself at the end of the year is this is December month. I'm not sure when this episode is going to be published, but the point is you need to manage your money into different buckets, or else it's going to be very, very difficult to have enough money to pay yourself a profit. And you're in business to make money for yourself, and it's not selfish to pay yourself first. I used to think so, but you're actually the most important asset in your business is you. So take care of yourself first, and then you can take care of other people.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the way I talk to my clients about it is I explain that every pound that they earn, a percentage of that should belong to them, a percentage should belong to profit, a percentage does belong to tax, to pay the government, whichever country that you're in, and the rest of it is the percentage that is allowable to pay for expenses, and that should be your choice. So it's kind of knowing that every penny and every pound that you earn needs to go percentage-wise into different pots, and the Profit First teaches people to do that twice a month, and so that the actual peace of mind that people get from that is, when the taxman comes and says you owe me this much, it's always going to be there in the bank because you worked the percentage out and you've been putting it aside. And that's it's nice to be able to say, yes, how would you like that type thing, rather than going, oh heck, how am I going to find that? And also things like, personally, I have a salary account as well, so I know the percentage of my turnover, how much of that is spent on staff. So I just do the same. I just put a percentage in every month. We pay a bonus scheme as well, so that's kind of on top of that, and that goes in, and I know at the end of every month there's more than enough money in that account to always pay my staff.
And is this something you help your clients with? You actually look at their numbers and you help them figure out what profit they should be paying themselves,
yes.
How much is the percentage for salary, etc.?
Yeah, so when we get a client on board with Profit First, I go to their premises and we sit there for the day. We talk about where they are now, where they would like to be, their goals for the next couple of years, and then I do a profit assessment on the numbers that they already have in their business. I take that back, I do a full profit assessment, I do things that where they're going wrong, what they could improve on, and I send that assessment, and then we handhold for a couple of months whilst they learn to do the assessment, the allocation, on the 10th and 25th, and just the accountability, because starting it is the hardest thing, and once you've started it, and like you said before, habits become the norm. Once they start it and they start to see the growth in the other pots, then it just becomes like a necessity to them, and that's so it's the hand-holding accountability that's the important bit as far as I'm concerned, to help the businesses implement it.
And you, when you learned the system, you implemented it in your own business first, and then
yes,
you tried it out, and you said, "Oh, this actually works." And then you said, "Okay, how can we do this for clients?"
Yeah, I because I live in the Lake District, I have two large dogs, and I have to walk a lot. So I listen to books a lot, and
okay.
I listened to the Pumpkin Plan, which is also by Mike McAllowitz, and I moved on to Profit First. And before I'd even finished listening to Profit First, I'd been in contact with the Profit First team to say, I need this in my practice, I need it in my life, because I've been trying to get my clients to take their Profit First for years, but Mike articulates it in such a simple way for business owners to understand, and that's where I think as accountants we can fall down sometimes. Numbers come easy to us, and sometimes we have to remember that they don't come easy to business owners. They're in business because they're really good at what they do, and that they need that little bit. So when the way that Mike articulates it and the way that the book articulates it is so much better for business owners to understand, and that's why I love being part of the Profit First team, because we get so much support from them, and therefore I can give the support to my clients as well.
And is that also something that you do you sort of give out the book to clients and say, read this and see if it's for you, and if you want us to help you implement it, then give me a ring, and if you want to do it yourself, then that's fine. Is that how you kind of do it, or?
There's two different ways. We've been giving the book out to our existing clients that we felt would benefit from Profit First. Mm-hmm. Most clients are coming to us because they've read the Profit First book, and then they just search for an accountant in the UK that's done Profit First. So I've been very lucky to go to New Jersey and do the Profit First the conference that Mike and Ron did, and I already have Profit First clients, so we've been really lucky in that way. So most of them the clients that come to us have already read the book, and that's why they're coming to us.
So to check out more about Profit First, just go to your website if you're in the UK, or so go to tipayroll.co.uk to check out the Profit First system. I do have a question about what is important to remember at the end of the year? So what kind of things should entrepreneurs be thinking about? When should we start thinking about it? And also common mistakes.
Common mistakes are usually leaving it till last minute. Here in the UK, if you have 9 months, either you've been a self-assessment as a sole trader or you're a limited company, you have 9 months from your year end to then submit your accounts. And so many people leave it till like the month before it's due and then expect an accountant to have the time to look at it properly. Whereas if they'd come earlier and the accountant could maybe look at ways to help. For instance, if you get your books, if we do bookkeeping anyway, so we only do year-end accounts for those people that we do the bookkeeping for. And the reason being is if somebody came to me 18 months down the line, I can't help them tax-wise to say, well, if you'd done this, we could have saved you on tax. Or, if the ways, whereas if you're looking at somebody's accounts on a monthly basis, and for instance, they're a sole trader and they're hitting the bracket where they should really be limited company because it would help them as a business, then actually that's so much easier to do that on a month-to-month basis than it would be if you just saw them once a year. So the biggest mistake that people make is thinking that they only need an accountant once a year and leaving it till last minute, whereas really it should be the most important part of running their business is knowing their numbers. So
knowing your numbers, making decisions based on that, and also how you manage your business. If you don't know the numbers, you don't know how to manage. You can't manage your business if you don't know the numbers. It's not only accounting, it's like also calculating what people are doing every day.
Of course.
Knowing what your staff are doing. Did they make those 10 calls, or did they make one phone call, or did they make no phone calls?
It's about knowing the ROI on each of your marketing spends as well, because actually if you've got 10 different marketing pillars going on at the same time, you're making money, but actually you don't know where each of those is coming from. You could have one of those marketing pillars is actually eating up so much revenue because it's not making any money, and the other 9 are actually covering that cost. Then as a business owner, you owe it to yourself to know which of those marketing is working and which one's not. Because if you find one that's working really well, you can ramp it up. If you find one that's not working, you just turn it off. But if you don't know your numbers and you don't know on a monthly basis what each of them are doing, you can't make those decisions.
So at what point do you sort of say, oh, now I want to have somebody in-house? Because at some point, do you need an in-house team? If you're like 5,000 people, you need an in-house accounting team. At what kind of threshold do you work with? Is it like businesses starting at 50,000 a year up to 5 million? Or
I don't think there's an answer to that, because we have businesses that take things in-house once they've got 15 staff. But we've got people who, I've got people at £1 million turnover companies that, because of the kind of business they are, they will outsource forever because it just makes more sense to them. So it is per business, and I'm sorry I don't really have an answer for that one, because like I said, it does depend on whether it suits that company, and it's on an individual basis, really.
So how do you see the UK industry moving forward to sort of 5 to 10 next year? What do you think will be happening?
I don't know. Because I live in the Lake District, I keep saying that, I'm really sorry, but we're quite behind.
On a peninsula?
On a peninsula, yeah. When the recession hit, it hits us slightly later. We've always kind of been a little bit behind. However, my company grew through the last recession. So actually, I think it's a lot more about finding something in business that people need and want, rather than worrying about the economy and whether what's going to happen. Because actually, I'm a massive believer in you make your own success and whatever success means to you.
So if you've been listening to this episode and you want more information about you, obviously it's your website, tipayroll.co.uk. Is there any other way of getting in contact with you? Do you give away anything for free? Do you have like something to offer?
We have some squeeze pages, but they're all on the website, I think, anyway,
okay.
And on our social media. So, I mean, TI Payroll and Accounting is on Facebook and Twitter.
Yeah.
We offer a consultancy appointment if anybody would like to chat either about, what they need to know in business or about profit first. So there's lots of ways to get in contact with us. It's just, as I say, it's about finding an accountant that you can feel like you can work with and that wants to help your business grow. So that's more about why I want, that's more about my message than people needing to find us, really.
Absolutely. So guys, you heard it here on Hardcore MBA. Tracy, thank you so much for being on the call and sharing your knowledge.
No, you're welcome. I've enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
This podcast is brought to you by MrOutsource.com. Outsourcing to the Philippines done for you. Mr. Outsource is a recruitment company matching busy entrepreneurs with Filipino virtual assistants, so you can have the time to focus on what's important.